Welcome to the Hay Kings podcast, brought to you by Vermeer, your trusted source in hay and forage equipment. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Bart Elder, Forage Product Manager, and Peter Horne, Forage Project Engineer with Vermeer Corporation in Pella, Iowa. They're here today to talk about Vermeer's newest innovation, TempSense. I love this TempSense idea. We'll include some YouTube video links when we put all of this out. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great. I really am honored to have this opportunity to talk about this new invention that we're so excited to bring to the market.
Well, before we get there, tell us a little bit about your roles at Vermeer.
Yeah, I'm a product manager here at Vermeer. I'm a Iowa farm kid that grew up farming and actually had a custom hay baling business where I utilized Vermeer balers and now getting to be the product manager that really focuses in on the baler group here at Vermeer. Is really fun and it's a great way to stay involved in the industry.
And Peter?
Yes, I'm a project engineer actually for the ZR5 1200, and I've been at Vermeer for probably over 7 years working on their navigational drills. Grew up working on a farm, so really excited to move over to the Forage division. I came over into the Forage Innovations group and started my work with the Forage group on this TempSense project, and then moved into the ZR5 project engineer role and brought TempSense to that machine. So we're excited to get it out there.
Tell me about TempSense. What were the origins? Well, first of all, tell me what it is. I think it's pretty intuitive to anybody that's ever run and worked on a round baler, but tell us what it is and then where did it come from?
Absolutely. So a lot of customers really would like to know what their bearing temperatures are. You know, you hear a lot on Hay Kings of guys checking their bearing temperatures with an IR gun and seeing, just getting an idea for that heartbeat of what their bearings look like every day. So we all know that we wish we had that information.
Well, and we know the cost when a bearing fails. Right. This is a good deal. We also get to see fabulous pictures of terrible days where people lose balers to fires.
Yeah, and you see that on all kinds of equipment, combines and everything. So it's something that we feel the market's been missing, is just this information. As we move into the kind of information age with the Internet of Things sensors, all these little sensors that can monitor this type of data is kind of really where the idea came from. So we just tried to figure out how can we adapt some of that technology to give our hay producers some advantages and just give them more information.
So you have sensors on the baler on all of the bearings, or is it focused specifically on higher stress bearings that are more prone to failure?
So a little bit more of how TempSense works, we say sensor, but really there's a thermistor that measures the temperature, and that's mounted as close to the bearing as we can get it. On some bearings, that's under the grease zerk. On others, it's the mounting bolt for the idler rollers. So that's really doing the work of measuring that temperature, is our thermistor. Then that's connected with a small harness to a battery-powered temperature sender. We call those the sensors, and there's 19 of those on the Z605N. And those are almost all the bearings, the highest stressed bearings on the machine. And send those temperatures back to a hub, which then that information gets displayed on your display as you're driving through the field.
What does the producer see in the cab?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. That's one advantage I'd say TempSense gives to the Vermeer customers, is that, we design these balers. Other aftermarket companies just don't have as much experience with the equipment. So we collected a lot of data to determine what's a normal operating temperature for each bearing location. And then if they go over that normal range, then we give you kind of a yellow moderate warning, just to alert you that, hey, it's a little warmer than normal. Go out and inspect that, make sure there's no net wrap building up or crop wrapping. And so it kind of gives you the first DTC code, that yellow warning.
I hadn't even considered twine or net wrap Of course that creates heating. Huh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll heat right up. And, that's another advantage is you can find that problem before it ruins your bearing and cause the bearing to go out. So it can save you in that regard too. Prevent that contamination before it's a catastrophic failure for the bearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a break there and we'll get a word from our sponsor.
My name is Rob Flowers, live in Whitesboro, Texas. The 604R premium efficiency level is through the roof. Dependability and durability on the 604R has been outstanding. We've had zero chain issues, zero bearing issues. The camless pickup has been phenomenal. And at the end of the day, that gives me more time to go home and be with my family, prepare for the next day, get more done.
Hear the full story at makeandhay.com/haykings.
Because one of the causes of bearing failure is getting stuff wrapped around the bearing and causing it to heat prematurely, and it causes, in my mind, wear, right? It goes from blue to yellow and then to red?
Correct. It's blue is kind of normal operating temperatures, and then yellow is the moderately severe warning, and then there's a red severe warning. And that's an indicator that you should really stop bailing with that machine and get that bearing replaced. So you can obviously, the data it comes up, it gives you a DTC code for a yellow or a red warning. So it alerts you that there's an issue. And then on the home screen, it gives you a general status view to see if any are yellow or red. And then if you click on that, it brings up each side of the baler and each bearing location. Not only does it tell you that one of them is in an alerted condition, but it will bring up a picture of the baler so you can see exactly which bearing is causing the issue and the temperature that it's running at. So if you go out and inspect your bearing and it's looking okay, but it's just right at the yellow threshold, then you can continue to monitor the temperature. Maybe you can finish the last 50 bales in your field to just make sure that temperature doesn't rise any further into the red range, and get that prop put up and change it the next morning before you start baling again.
That's pretty darn handy. The image that I have in my head is, oh, I got a bearing that I need to pay attention to. Oh, that bearing just failed. Or, oh, I really need to stop and check that bearing now. Is it that level of imminence when that turns red as I need to stop right now and look at that bearing?
Yeah, we recommend at a yellow warning, get out and inspect that bearing, and then at a red warning, when it's red, it's really hot. Like, you better stop bailing or figure out if there's net wrap in your bearing, those kinds of things. And you'll be able to notice it, just like you would if you didn't have the system that, hey, that bearing's really hot, it needs attention.
Gotcha. So you're saying when it's red, you wouldn't, when it's red on the screen, that's not the bearing that you would just go back and put your hand on.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
You'd feel the heat coming off of it.
Gotcha.
It's an obvious issue.
Gotcha. Not always so obvious for many operators. Somebody that's a little less skilled might not just inherently have that built into their. I could see this being exceptionally valuable when you have employees and those kind of things. Absolutely. I have this picture of the ZR5 in my mind, your self-propelled round baler. Is it only available on the ZR5, or is this available on your regular pull-behind balers too?
That's a great question, and we launched this in August there on the ZR5 to start with. Mm-hmm. And as we progress, the plan is to eventually work it into more of our full-type balers and potentially other equipment. Those are things that we're investigating at this time. Mm-hmm. But it's just a great platform for the ZR5 because, that's a customer that's, more of that commercial type. We know he's expecting more out of the baler and going to put more bales on per year, So sure. Giving that information to that customer is very valuable for his uptime.
All right. And have these gone into production already? Could you go out and buy a ZR5 with them today?
Yes. Yep, you can. And it comes standard equipment on the ZR5. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So if you order, and, the way the ZR5 platform works, you can replace that bale chamber in that unit if the customer desires. Yep. So any new bale chamber that customer will receive today
will have the TempSense
here this fall. Yes, sir.
So now, does it have to be a chamber replacement to get TempSense, or could it be added to an existing ZR5 without changing out the chamber?
Yeah, we're going to offer that, as we get a little further into the project, because we know our customers are going to demand that or want that from us. We'll be making that kit available later in the season here for our ZR5 customers.
Nice. I'm really excited about this. I love that spirit of innovation and Vermeer really working to address. I mean, this bearing failure and balers catching on fire is such a known issue in the industry, and anything that helps a producer catch that before there's a catastrophic loss and they're fighting with insurance companies, that is so valuable. I absolutely love this innovation. Yeah,
it just gives that information to if a customer knows that he has a bearing that's potentially heating up or whatever. If you don't realize it, you go to the field the next day, you maybe waited around all morning for your hay to get dry. And if you would have known that you had this potential problem, you could have been fixing
the bearing while you were waiting.
Exactly. So just giving that information back to the operator to make those decisions is really going to be helpful. And that's really, we've got a lot of success stories already, just as Peter explained earlier, that, you can monitor that temperature. Maybe you just got a few bales left, and, continue baling, or know that, hey, it's time to stop, even if you only do have a little bit left. And potentially, we've seen it where you just remove that net wrap or some contaminant that started to get into that bearing, and remove that, and we can watch that bearing cool down and extend the life of that bearing as well, instead of that contaminant taking it out. So just gives that operator options that they currently don't have.
That's pretty amazing. One thing that's just struck me is you talked about the ZR5 platform, and it feels to me like the chamber's replaceable, TempSense. There's lots of other things that have gone into this baler. I assume there's still more to come, right?
Well, one other thing that we actually launched with this 2024 model year, so starting August of this year, all of the new ZR5s will actually also be equipped with telematics. So we've just added that. We just added that to the ZR5, and we paired that up with TempSense. We've had quite a few of these systems in the field, and a lot of the dealers are seeing value too. So we wanted to enable the dealers to be able to see these TempSense fault codes. So now, especially if you're not real literate with the equipment, if you just tell your dealer, hey, one of my bearings turned yellow, can you guys come fix it? They can go onto the telematics system and see exactly which bearing is causing the problem. And then they can bring exactly the right parts to your machine and know what they're dealing with before they even get there. So it can save them a trip oftentimes as well. So that's another new innovation that we just launched on the ZR5 this year.
Very nice. I love that spirit of support too. I think that's very good and healthy for the industry. I want to thank both of you for coming and talking about this today. This has been wonderful to see that a known industry problem is actually being fixed and addressed. This is so exciting for me.
Yeah, and again, just that prevention piece in there, that hopefully we can, again, at the end of the day, we're just really trying to extend the life of the machines and prevent as much downtime for our customers as possible, just by giving them the right information. It's just like anything you have. If you have the right information, you can make the right decisions, and that's best for your operation. So giving some peace of mind to our customers at the end of the day is really what we're after. Knowing that they can go out and be as productive as possible is really what we want our customers to be.
Thank you again. I look forward to having more discussions about what you guys have going on in the future.
Well, thanks for having us on here. It's a real honor for us to be part of Hay Kings.
I want to say a special thank you to Vermeer for sponsoring the Hay Kings podcast. Without Vermeer, none of this would be possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say a special thank you to Nick Palmieri at Palmieri Sound, Jessica Palmieri for doing all of my social media coordinating, And thank you to everybody that listens to the podcast.